We're also the largest EV maker in the world. And while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is.
You talk about enhancing humanity. I'm curious then about AI, which many people say will lead to great productivity gains. You showed those robots. I mean, I can imagine what they conceivably could do when powered by AI. But I'm also curious, because you've certainly been concerned, what percentage do you give the chance that it will destroy humanity?
Annual meeting done. Exclusive interview with Elon Musk complete. I went ahead and sifted through the highlights of both. Let's go ahead and get right to it, shall we?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's 2023 Annual Shareholder Meeting in Austin, Texas.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the board, I am really honored to welcome you all here today to the 2023 Annual Shareholder Meeting.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Tesla board members, management, employees, and shareholders. My name is Courtney Wicks, and I am the Executive Director for Investor Advocates for Social Justice. And I'm here on behalf of As You Sow and the Sisters of the Good Shepherd, who have filed shareholder proposals in the past on child labor and human rights abuses in Tesla's supply chain. I stand here today to call on shareholders to vote yes on requesting Tesla to conduct a third-party report detailing the company's efforts to eradicate child and forced labor in its supply chain. The human rights risks that permeate throughout Tesla's value chain, when not adequately addressed, harm shareholder value and undermine Tesla's ability to lead the just transition.
I'd like to announce on preliminary basis that our stockholders have approved the recommendations of the Tesla board on all agenda items, except that shareholders have recommended 1 year for non-binding advisory vote on the frequency of future votes on executive compensation. This means that I would like to officially announce our new addition to the Tesla board, J.B. Straubel.
JB, obvious fan favorite, integral to the birth of Tesla, and he's also CEO of Redwood Materials, a welcome addition to the board.
And with that, please welcome Elon Musk.
The Tesla team has done an incredible job of executing over the past year, and we have many exciting years ahead of us. And with the Master Plan Part 3, we want to basically, the goal is to give people hope, realistic hope, and maybe hope's even the wrong word, but simply to say that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen. You know what? We will do a third-party audit. In fact, we'll put a webcam on the mine. And if anybody sees any children, please let us know. Go off on a tangent too much on that front, but it's very important to appreciate that most of our battery packs are iron-based. A majority of our battery packs are iron-based, not cobalt. And then our other battery packs are nickel-based, not cobalt. The nickel batteries use a little bit of cobalt as a binder, but only a tiny amount. In contrast, your phones all use 100% cobalt. I recommend complaining to the phone manufacturers. We will make sure 6 ways to Sunday that no child labor is being exploited. Obviously, we're a company that cares a lot about doing the right thing, and we don't want to delude ourselves or delude anyone else. So, yeah, count.
Shareholders voted you down, but I'm still going to give you that third-party audit. You can get the sense that he's frustrated, that he's trying to do incredible good for humanity. Bad things go on in the world. Tesla is not adding to that. Tesla is trying to make the world a better place. Quest for the third-party audit, admirable. Sure, you break it down into the grand scheme of things, what does the audit do? Sure, it'll bring awareness to the problem at hand, but then when you construct the audit, there's so many other factors. In what fashion was the audit done? Should we not have an audit for the audit, etc.? I want to make sure you're doing the most that you can to prevent something as heinous as child labor and exploitation. But to assume that Tesla is doing nothing on this front in the first place, it's quite cynical.
Lithium-ion battery production fundamentally decides the rate at which the world transitions to sustainability, because the batteries are needed for all forms of transport and for stationary storage, given the intermittent nature of solar and wind power. Well, perhaps we got some things wrong, perhaps some things need to be adjusted, but generally the feedback we've gotten is that actually our analysis is quite accurate, and we've not seen any rebuttals thus far that would cause us to change our assumptions. And once again, the top two most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. So, at the end of the day, the competitiveness of any given company is a function of where are the most talented people interested in working. That is the team that's going to win. In fact, if I'd say this is generally the case. If you look at any given company and say, where are the most smartest, most driven people going to work, that company is going to win. So whether it's Tesla or any other company. And we're also changing to a 48 volt low voltage architecture in the car. So yeah, this is a big deal actually. So the cars have been operating with 12 volt batteries for basically about a century. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from a 12 volt voltage of outside of the drivetrain to a 48 volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper for in the car as would be needed for a 12 volt battery. So that's a big deal because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. And FSD beta is growing hyper exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. Just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD beta? Okay, great. So what do you think of the latest build? Right. So it's really getting to the point where it's, at least for me, when I drive around, it's several days between interventions, and I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function, and so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. Over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. Being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. Passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, I don't know, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world. Yeah, and I think that will continue. And while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is.
Damn! BYD is the only other automaker making money off their EVs. Let's take a look at that chart, making EVs profitably. BYD, and they're also including their hybrids in this. Neo, Xpeng, Ford EV, and Polestar all losing money. It's not pretty. The pain that Elon has described earlier when he talks about prototypes being easy, manufacturing being hard, and then producing these things at scale profitably being incredibly excruciating. They may make it. The likes of Rivian, Lucid, they are losing an incredible amount. It's insane. That's the recipe for bankruptcy if I've ever heard of one.
I can't tell you how hard manufacturing is. Like, you've probably heard me say that prototypes are easy, manufacturing is hard. And then manufacturing at scale with positive cash flow is excruciating. It's mega pain. That interest rates make have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment, and it's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? Like Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be just at a macroeconomic level difficult for at least the next 12 months. Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. No company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. As predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year.
I don't know what the Vegas odds are on that one, but yeah. Seems pretty likely the Model Y will be the best-selling vehicle at the end of 2023.
I don't know if this is like the optimal picture, but Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like, when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, and we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the seatbelt pretensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla.
Kind of like an afterthought, you really don't think about the safety of Teslas. As a matter of fact, if you look at the media, it might infer that Teslas aren't safe because they dominate the news when there's an accident or a Tesla seemingly arbitrarily catches fire. And given that this is a new technology, the public should be aware of potential dangers and hazards, but you never see a retraction when the investigation comes out as operator error or the crash is not Tesla's fault at all. No retraction, all you get are the headlines that seemingly include this brave new technology that's going to not only save lives, but is better for the environment and better for the consumer.
It's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. So,
if you're in the market for a new vehicle and you want something that's affordable, like a Toyota Corolla, go to the Tesla website, configure your Model 3, and find out the joy of owning an EV. Little to no maintenance, style, performance, the functionality of it all. Trust me, you'll never go back.
we were making good progress. So our supercharger uptime is now 99.95%. So, yeah. And we have superchargers practically everywhere at this point. The Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah. And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales. So we're expanding Gigafactory Nevada for the Tesla semi-production line and for the 4680 in-house cell production. And yeah, some Megafactory stuff. So this is, so we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China, but I think long term, this will be much, much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year.
But Tesla's just a car company. Forget about all this stuff about energy storage and battery production. All they do is make cars.
One of them is lithium refining. I mean, there have been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, can someone please just do lithium refining? Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. And we've signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Gigamexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So, we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year. So a Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the, so yes, it's, that's the thing when I, in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there. And sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year. And I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. So, and you know, people always want to know what our next product is. But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper, dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. These 2 new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just Elon's guess, so don't sue me. But Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these 2 models combined. So
I find it interesting that Elon said will be an economic hardship for the next 12 months, and how that may coincide with the first vehicles coming off the line in Nuevo León. That also seems to be lining up when the next generation vehicles will not only be unveiled, but coming off the production line in Nuevo León. This isn't financial advice, but once those cars start coming off the production lines, it's game over. You better be invested in the company if you want to go on this wild Tesla ride. If you think owning Tesla stock has been financially lucrative so far, you just wait until they introduce the car that's priced at less than $30,000.
these are all real, by the way.
Every time I see progress on the Tesla bot, it sends shivers up my spine. If Elon's prediction is correct that Tesla's evaluation will be primarily based on the bot, and he feels highly confident in that, I am hopeful for what comes next.
I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this is a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job, and it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is, we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, or if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSE computer as the car. Not somewhat, extremely underrated. Because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. Tesla's long-term value will be, a majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of. Let's see, so I think with that, we can do questions, perhaps?
Hey, Elon, meet Kevin here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. So Tesla is the largest position in my ETF, ticker PP, and that's for pricing power.
Right.
And I'm curious, I really think that some of the features that you highlighted here, like the over-the-air airbag deployments of improving the features, the safety features, are great things that we could be advertising. I know you've heard this many times before. I know you have. But
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
$525 off every car this year is half a Netflix's advertising budget. $1,000 is the entire Netflix advertising budget, and I see their ads everywhere. Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this. I just talked to Gordo, the Tesla bear, and he's still talking about 2016 New York Times pieces. These people are in the past, man.
That's like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's actually, I talked to a lot of people, and they still think that like Teslas are like super expensive. And like, no, actually, the starting price for a Tesla is below the average auto price in the US. It's like, and that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's good that it's that way. You know, like our goal was always to make cars that are affordable to the general public. So I hear you. I mean, I think, and it's indeed ironic that, you know, Twitter is like highly dependent on advertising. So, you know, here I am. It's like, you know, never used advertising really before, and now have a company that's highly dependent on advertising. So, I guess I should say advertising is awesome, and everyone should do it. But I think I hear your sort of larger point, which is that there are amazing features and functionality about Teslas that people just don't know about. So, yeah. And although there's obviously a lot of people that follow, like, say, the Tesla account and the you know, my account, whatever, on Twitter, to some degree, it is preaching to the choir. And the choir is already convinced. So I think what you're saying does have some merit, and you know what? I believe in taking suggestions. So we'll try a little advertising and see how it goes. Okay. Okay. All right, I wasn't expecting that level of enthusiasm, but okay. It sounds like our shareholders, if I read between the lines, subtle as it is, are saying we should probably do some advertising. Okay, very well. All right.
So first, congratulations on your decision to try advertising. We all want Tesla to pass Apple in market cap.
I didn't realize people wanted it that much. Okay.
It's good that a lot of people agree. So earlier this year, you cut prices on everything, 15, 20%. More recently, you've been raising prices on Model Y, Model S, Model X. And can you just talk about the pricing strategy on Model Y going forward and keep it separate from the decision to bring out the next-gen vehicles that we all agree is going to, blow the doors off on volume? But just on Model Y, it's the best-selling product in the world. Can you just talk about strategy of pricing going forward on that?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we see what the demand is, and then we adjust pricing to meet the demand. Now, the thing is that what happens with other car makers is that they're actually constantly adjusting pricing on cars. It's just not obvious. In the case of Tesla, you can see immediately when there's a price change that occurs because we don't have any intermediaries, don't have any dealers. There's no manufacturer's suggested retail price. But the reality is actually at car dealers, the prices are changing radically. I mean, last year there were significant premiums above MSRP at sort of the conventional car dealer. So you'd pay above MSRP last year, and then this year I think things are below MSRP or close to it. And then the manufacturers will then also offer incentives. So what's actually happening are very big price shifts by other car makers. They're just not obvious. Whereas with Tesla, it's obvious. And this is necessary because demand fluctuates a lot. So something's got to be done to achieve a supply-demand clearing point. Just want to say, your support is super appreciated, as I say, a friend in need is a friend indeed, and supporting Tesla when the chips are down, those are the real friends, and you're them. So thank you.
You just finished your annual meeting. You took a lot of questions from a very eager audience. I feel like most of it you've shared before, but there was some news, and I want to start there. Advertising. You got a big applause. You didn't sound like you were going to advertise that much, but you did at least seem to open the way to saying, okay, we might consider doing some advertising. Why?
Well, I mean, I believe in listening to shareholders, and I actually was surprised by the level of enthusiasm for advertising, since we have not historically done that. But there perhaps is some good logic to it in that if we're simply sending out information via, say, the Tesla Twitter account or my Twitter account, we're somewhat preaching to the converted, and not reaching people that are not already convinced, essentially. So I think they probably have a good point. I mean, I think it's worth a try, and we'll see. We'll see how effective.
Do you have any idea how you'd like to try it, or what that would involve?
Well, I mean, I have some general thoughts about advertising. That if advertising is informative and entertaining, then it can start to approach content. So I think sometimes advertising is perhaps not informative, or perhaps in some cases a bit misleading. And in fact, we've lost some advertisers on Twitter because community notes applies to advertising too. And so if somebody advertises something that isn't that's perhaps a bit inaccurate, then it gets community noted, and then they get mad and stop advertising. But we care enough about the truth that we're willing to give up advertising dollars on Twitter, even if in order to have the least inaccurate source of information.
And I want to talk about that, but I want to obviously spend some time on Tesla. Again, back to ads, though. I mean, am I going to start to see Tesla ads during the NFL broadcast on a given Sunday, Monday, Thursday? The NFL's always on.
Well, bear in mind, I mean, I only just agreed to it, so it's not like I have a fully formed strategy.
Okay. Well, how much time does go into when you think about these things? I mean, was it something you decided to do up on stage, or at least did you know coming in, I may, if this comes up, that I may go there?
No, I mean, the questions are not scripted in any way.
Right.
So
in that moment, you just said, all right, we'll do some ads.
That's right.
So we're only like 20 minutes later, and I'm asking you detailed questions. You don't have any answers, I guess.
I'm not sure what the most effective thing is, except that, like I said, I believe that advertising should be informative about a product. It should be ideally aesthetically pleasing. It should be beautiful. It should have some artistic element to it, and it should be something that you don't regret watching after it's done. And I think if advertising fits those criteria, that it starts to approach content, and that you want advertising that is as close to content as possible, such that you don't regret the time you spent watching it.
I'm not so sure that advertising is necessary, even though Teslas are now, with the Model Y, Model 3, are cheaper new cars than the average selling price in America. It's still a little bit out of reach for what the mass market for advertising dollars might target. It's ebbing due to the economic turmoil. And of course, Elon, I imagine he will do something. He seems to be very fond of Twitter. I wouldn't be surprised to see ads of Tesla on Twitter. Probably will get the best price, you know what I mean? To see Super Bowl ads or even ads on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays, as they were alluded to, when would he be able to see these while he's watching football games? I don't think that's truly necessary at this stage. I would personally wait until the unveil of the $30,000 car, and so your ad dollars will extend further to those individuals that actually can afford that monthly payment. Elon's a very bright man. He understands that he has a lot of investors and retail shareholders clamoring to garner more attention on the brand when people like myself are doing the job for him. In short, advertising will be necessary at this stage of the game in this economic environment. Premature? That's what I'll say, premature.
You talk about enhancing humanity. I'm curious then about AI, which many people say will lead to great productivity gains. You showed those robots. I mean, I can imagine what they conceivably could do when powered by AI. But I'm also curious, because you've certainly been concerned, what percentage do you give the chance that it will destroy humanity?
Well, the advent of artificial general intelligence is called a singularity because it is so hard to predict what will happen after that. I think it's very much a double-edged sword. I think there's a strong probability that it will make life much better, and that we'll have an age of abundance, and there's some chance that it goes wrong, and destroys humanity. Hopefully that chance is small, but it's not zero. And so I think we want to take whatever actions we can think of to minimize the probability that AI goes wrong.
And you've called for a pause, along with a number of other people.
Yes, look, when I called for a friend of mine, Max Tegmark, is a physicist at MIT, wanted me to sign on to the letter. And it's like I knew it would be futile.
It is futile.
It's futile. I knew it would be futile. I just wanted to call it like, it's one of those things, well, for the record, I recommended that we pause.
Okay.
Did I think there would be a pause? Absolutely not.
But you're starting XAI, I think that's what you're calling it, or some new AI effort. Well, how's it going to be different than OpenAI or Alphabet?
This is not the time it's not. We don't have enough time, and nor is this the moment to really talk about it.
Okay.
We will have a launch event, and we'll explore the issues in more detail. But I should say that and I mentioned this at the shareholder meeting, that Tesla has actually tremendous capability in real-world AI.
Yes.
In fact, it is very far ahead of anyone.
I know people actually on Twitter prior to our interview were saying, he never gets asked about how advanced his AI is at Tesla. You always talk about the other names.
Tesla AI is, like I said, I'm not even sure who's second, frankly.
Why is that? What are people not understanding about what you have, and why are we talking so much about ChatGPT and generative AI at OpenAI and what Microsoft's going to be able to do with it, and not about Tesla?
I don't know. I mean, people do talk about it online. I think Tesla will have sort of a ChatGPT moment. Maybe if not this year, I'd say no later than next year.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. You're going to have a
sort of chat GPT moment.
Oh, you will. In terms of suddenly it will.
Yeah, suddenly 3 million cars will be able to drive themselves with no one.
Right. It goes back to that. Right.
Yeah, and then 5 million cars, and then 10 million cars.
Lon, I'm being told we have to wrap up. Your board has been very
Sure.
patient. I want to end on one AI question. You have a lot of kids. I have some kids. I have one who's actually soon to go into the workforce. I struggle with how to advise him about a career when this technology exists and will only improve. I'm just curious, when you think about advising your children on a career with so much that is changing, what do you tell them is going to be of value?
Well, that is a tough question to answer. I guess I would just say, to sort of follow their heart in terms of what they find interesting to do or fulfilling to do, and try to be as useful as possible to the rest of society. If we do get to the sort of like magic genie situation where you can ask the AI for anything, and let's say it's even the benign scenario. Let's say it's a benign scenario. How do we actually find fulfillment? It's how do we find meaning in life if the AI could do your job better than you can? I mean, if I think about it too hard, it frankly can be dispiriting and demotivating. Because, I mean, I go through. I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into building the companies, and then I'm like, wait, well, should I be doing this? Because if I'm sacrificing time with friends and family that I would prefer to but then ultimately the AI can do all these things. Does that make sense? I don't know. To some extent, I have to have deliberate suspension of disbelief in order to remain motivated. So I guess I would say just, work on things that you find interesting, fulfilling, and that contribute some good to the rest of society.
Artificial intelligence frightens the hell out of Elon Musk, and rightfully so. But even me, I'm a layman. I don't know a whole lot about artificial intelligence. Do I use ChatGPT? You bet your bottom dollar. And I think it's very fascinating, all the variable uses that artificial intelligence has, but none more so important than full self-driving, in my opinion. There are concerns. It should generate pause even in the layman, such as myself. This is going to be frightening if it spins out of control. Great annual meeting. I thoroughly enjoyed the interview with David Faber. Many questions I didn't cover here on this channel. If you didn't catch it live on Twitter Spaces or CNBC, they have clips of it down below broken down into the various segments of the interview. You can also find the annual shareholder meeting on the investor tab at the Tesla website, probably on YouTube as well. But that's pretty much all I got for you. Hope you found this stuff informative, helping you make logical decisions in terms of investing. And as Elon says, long term, it's probably not a safer bet than Tesla. Be easy. Peace.